Hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please subscribe and keep watching for more detailed videos. Kristina Corinthos Davis and Ava Jerome were never supposed to be in the same orbit, let alone find themselves walking a path that could turn them from adversaries into something resembling confidants. Their relationship was built on years of animosity, suspicion, betrayal, and clashing loyalties. Yet General Hospital has proven time and again that enemies can transform into unexpected allies, and sometimes even into something resembling friends. The complicated, tension-filled, and strangely fascinating journey of Kristina and Ava is one of those stories that no viewer could have predicted, but once it began to unfold, it became impossible to look away. From Kristina's perspective, Ava was everything that embodied the darker side of Port Charles. Ava had been entangled in mob dealings, ruthless schemes, and a list of questionable choices that left devastation in her wake. Kristina, as the daughter of Sonny Corinthos and Alexis Davis, grew up with chaos surrounding her, but she still clung to a sense of morality, however complicated. She saw Ava as a direct threat to her family's stability, especially when Ava's actions crossed paths with Sonny's empire or jeopardized people Kristina loved. For years, their interactions were more than chilly. They were laced with cutting remarks, simmering resentment, and an underlying tension that made even casual conversations feel like a battlefield. On the other side, Ava saw Kristina as just another Corinthos loyalist, someone who would always side with Sonny no matter the facts. Ava's history with Sonny was bitter and destructive, filled with betrayals, power struggles, and tragic consequences. In her eyes, Kristina carried the same arrogance and stubbornness that Sonny wielded, and that alone put her on the defensive whenever Kristina entered the room. Ava didn't see Kristina as an individual, but rather as an extension of her father, a walking reminder of everything Ava despised about the Corinthos family. That lens colored every interaction, making civility feel impossible. Their hostility wasn't just about family names and long histories, it was also deeply personal. Kristina had a sharp tongue and no hesitation in calling Ava out when she believed Ava was manipulating or scheming. Ava, with her quick wit and willingness to play dirty, was more than capable of firing back with biting remarks that cut Kristina down. It created a dynamic that was entertaining to watch but painful for the characters themselves, because neither one backed down. They saw each other as irreconcilable opposites, oil and water destined to clash whenever their worlds collided. What made their eventual shift towards something resembling friendship so remarkable is how layered and slow the process was. It didn't come from a sudden epiphany or a single dramatic moment of rescue. Instead, it built quietly, through small cracks in the walls they had built around themselves. The turning point began when Kristina started facing struggles of her own that Ava couldn't help but recognize. Kristina's personal battles, her search for purpose, her complicated romantic life, and her struggle to define herself outside of her father's shadow gave Ava a glimpse into the fact that Kristina wasn't just Sonny's daughter. She was a woman with vulnerabilities, desires, and fears. For someone like Ava, who had often been dismissed, misunderstood, or outright hated by others, there was something in Kristina's raw honesty that resonated with her. At the same time, Ava's own experiences with loss, betrayal, and longing made her more human in Kristina's eyes. Ava wasn't just the ruthless woman who schemed and manipulated. She was also a mother who had endured unbearable grief, a woman who had been broken and rebuilt herself countless times, and someone who, beneath all the bravado, wanted love and connection. Kristina, who had always prided herself on being perceptive and empathetic, started to see those layers. She couldn't ignore the fact that Ava's pain was real, and it mirrored some of her own struggles with identity and acceptance. The tension between them didn't vanish overnight. Their banter remained sharp, and they continued to challenge each other in ways that could have easily reignited old animosities. But what changed was the underlying current. Instead of hostility for hostility's sake, there was now a flicker of respect. Kristina began to recognize Ava's intelligence and resilience, even if she didn't always agree with her methods. Ava, in turn, saw that Kristina's loyalty and determination weren't just blind devotion to Sonny. They were part of her integrity, her fierce need to protect the people she cared about. And as much as Ava might roll her eyes at it, She couldn't help but admire that kind of conviction. Moments of vulnerability became the glue that started to hold them together. One particularly significant instance came when Kristina confided in Ava about her insecurities, about feeling overshadowed by her family, and about the difficulty of carving out her own identity in a world where everyone already thought they knew who she was. Ava, instead of dismissing her, listened. She didn't offer empty platitudes. She offered blunt honesty, the kind of advice that only someone who had been burned by life could give. That moment, while not dramatic on the surface, was a watershed in their relationship. For the first time, Kristina saw Ava not as an enemy, but as someone who could actually understand her. Conversely, Ava allowed herself to show cracks in her armor around Kristina. There were times when her usual bravado slipped, when she admitted fears about losing her daughter Avery, or when she revealed how deeply certain betrayals had wounded her. For Ava, opening up to Kristina was risky, because she had been burned so many times before. But Kristina didn't weaponize those admissions. She held them, respected them, and even offered comfort in her own way. It was those small exchanges that began to redefine their dynamic, transforming them from rivals into reluctant allies. As they spent more time together, what emerged was a surprising sense of humor and camaraderie. They could tease each other in ways that didn't sting as much as before, almost like the sharpness had dulled into playful banter. Kristina's sarcasm and Ava's dry wit began to complement each other, turning once hostile conversations into something closer to the kind of banter best friends share. It wasn't that the tension disappeared. It was that the tension evolved, becoming a spark that fueled their connection rather than deepened because they began to see the world through each other's eyes. Kristina, who had always been quick to judge Ava, started to appreciate the difficult choices Ava had made to survive. Ava, who had dismissed Kristina as just another Corinthos loyalist, realized that Kristina's struggles were not so different from her own. Both women were trying to find their place in a world that often felt hostile to them. That mutual recognition created empathy, and empathy is often the first step toward real friendship. The audience could see that what made their relationship compelling was the fact that it wasn't smooth or easy. They still argued, still disagreed, and still tested each other's patience. But beneath it all, there was a growing sense of trust. That trust became evident in the way Kristina began to turn to Ava for advice, even when she knew she might not like the answer. It showed in the way Ava defended Kristina in situations where the old Ava would have gladly let her fend for herself. Each act of loyalty chipped away at the barriers between them, replacing animosity with something warmer, something unexpected. There's also an undeniable element of irony in their friendship. For years, Kristina defined herself in opposition to people like Ava, and Ava dismissed Kristina as a naive Corinthos offspring. Yet the more they got to know each other, the more they realized that they shared more common ground than they had ever imagined. Both had complicated family dynamics, both had made mistakes in love, and both were constantly searching for a sense of belonging. It was that shared humanity that ultimately bridged the gap between them. The beauty of their evolution is that it never felt forced. It wasn't about rewriting history or pretending the past didn't happen. Their ugly history remained part of their story, and it often bubbled up in moments of conflict. But instead of letting it define them, they allowed themselves to grow beyond it. That's what made their bond feel real. It wasn't a clean slate. It was two people choosing to look past the worst and recognize the best in each other. For viewers, watching Kristina and Ava inch toward friendship has been a reminder of how unpredictable relationships can be. On a soap like General Hospital, where betrayals and rivalries are the norm, seeing two former enemies find common ground adds a richness to the storytelling. It gives depth to both characters, showing that even those we think we know can surprise us. It also reinforces a powerful theme, that forgiveness, growth, and unlikely alliances are always possible, even in the most divided of circumstances. Now, when Kristina and Ava share scenes, the energy is different. There's still an edge, because neither woman will ever be someone who softens completely. But there's also warmth, respect, and even affection. They've become sounding boards for each other, confidants who can be brutally honest but also supportive. In a way, they've become each other's unexpected safe place. Kristina can confide things to Ava that she might not feel comfortable sharing with her family, knowing Ava won't judge her but will challenge her. Ava, who has often been isolated, has found in Kristina someone who sees her as more than just her mistakes. Their transformation from enemies to besties is not just about personal growth. It's about the way relationships evolve when people are willing to see beyond labels and history. It's a story about resilience, forgiveness, and the surprising places where connection can be found. For Kristina and Ava, what started as disdain has turned into one of the most intriguing and unlikely friendships on General Hospital, a testament to the fact that even the deepest animosities can give way to unexpected bonds when hearts are open enough to change. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel for all of your updates.